Welcome to the Uriel Devil May Cry 5, or whatever Devil May Cry you want, Virgil build for Warframe. Let's get right into what the build is. So first off, you already know what Uriel is. If you don't, look him up on the wiki or look up another way on how to figure out who this character is. He's pretty cool. We already know what Uriel's abilities do, and as you can see, I subsumed Wrathful Advance over his 1. You're going to want to do that first. If you do not have Clairvo, it's okay. Just do the rest of the build without Wrathful Advance and work your way towards getting the Clairvo subsumed, since this is the best melee option in the game. Now, the build also isn't fully complete. I'm a little poor, so I'm still working on some parts of it, but I have 2 Tau Forge Azure for the 75 energy max, and these 3 would normally be filled with 3 Tau Forged Purples for melee critical damage, since that is what we're going to be going for. Now, for the fashion, as you can see, we got Uriel. I am using the Ezreal Sayadana, and I would be using the Demon Wings from the Halloween event, but I do not currently have those. I am using the Conclave Sigil in the front, and you can customize the colors how you like. This is currently how I have the color layout. I don't have many color packs, so just do what you will. You can probably pull up an image of Virgil and get it a lot closer than I did, but this is what I can do with what I am given. And for the weapon of choice, we are using the Siam, which I have renamed the Yamato. And for its fashion, I am using the Nikana Ryu skin from the Ash Koga bundle, and I am also using the Immortal Breath Sagutra from the Wukong Kuiten's bundle. It is for this little dangly bit, which I currently have colored black. I just like it better looking this way, though you can color it yellow to be a little more accurate. I just like how it looks overall, and that is the general fashion of it. It's very, very simple, but it gets the job done at making you look like a badass. Now, on to the pet real quick, because this is a very minor part. Most people will probably be wondering like what pet you should use. Just use any pet as long as you have Prime Pack Leader. You know, just use whatever you like. Prime Pack Leader is really what you want. Maybe Synth Deconstructor, but really that's not too big of a deal. You'll want Prime Pack Leader just because you're doing a lot of melee stuff, so you're going to want to keep your pet up with that. Onto the actual build here. I'm going to pause here for anyone who wants to actually look at just everything and copy it right on in. And after that, we are going to be going over some of the stuff. So first off, we have Growing Power. Since the Siam is very good at applying status effects with its with its heavy attack and with just regular attacks, we are going to be taking full advantage of this to gain that extra 25% ability strength, because we're going to be trying to feed Wrathful Advance as much as possible with ability strength, since due to it being a subsume, it's not as strong as regular Wrathful Advance. We are using Sure-Footed to make sure that we don't get knocked down as often. I would recommend replacing this with Prime Sure-Footed the moment you get your hands on it. I'm using Umbral Fiber and Umbral Intensify because I like to have those extra little bit of strength. If I had the space, I would use Umbral Vitality, but I'm planning on using some Umbra Formas on this guy because I really want to build this around that. If I had the space as well, I would take off Continuity and put on Umbral Vitality just for that extra ability strength, since the ability duration is not that needed, and I don't really have anything else better to put in this slot. Equilibrium, of course. If you do not know how Uriel works, do not make a Uriel build without this. This is like the Uriel mod. This gives him effectively infinite energy. It's really good. And the rest of the stuff is basically just stuff for ability strength. You got Transient Fortitude, Blind Rage, Umbral Intensify, and Overextended is for the ability range that we can use our quote-unquote Judgment Cut End ability. And that is pretty much it. You can also swap this out for regular Stretch if you wanted to. Make this a dash instead of a whatever that is, a Horizon, whatever it is. You know, I don't know the exact terminology. I'm using Arcane Fury for the extra 120% melee damage for melee weapons on critical hits, since we're going to be doing that a lot. And Molt Augmented for that extra ability strength, because as I said, we are feeding Wrathful Advance as much as humanly possible with this build. Onto the actual Siam. Here we go. Once again, I'm slowing down so that anyone who wants to can check it out. Now, first off, we're using Decisive Judgment. I'm don't believe it really matters what you use here unless there is a stance mod that has more than like 5 in it. So you can just have some more space on this, I guess. I don't really know. Do whatever you feel feels right. We're using Truth's Flame because every time we get a kill with our Tennokai, we are going to get an additional 4 seconds and an additional 120% damage on it. The curse is pretty negatable because Uriel's 2 completely removes all negative debuffs, and the Truth is pretty nice as a side effect because we get that 25 meters of gas, 25 health, and also 25% more parkour velocity, which is pretty nice to have sometimes. We're using Galvanized Steel for the critical chance, but mostly for the critical damage. Reflex only for the initial combo, since there's no other mod that gives you that much initial combo. And Elementalist for the status damage and also status chance, if we're going to really want that. The Siam's heavy attack weapon, like blade thing that shoots out, is one of the few things in the game that is multiplicative with condition overload, which is why we have this on here. It's not additive. This is the damage jackpot right here. You're going to want this on the build no matter what, even if you have a low amount of formas. You're going to want Fever Strike or Prime Fever Strike. I use Prime because I have it. And this is very good since this allows us to actually mod gas on with only 1 mod, since the heavy attack has innate heat on it. We're using Pressure Point for melee damage, but you could also use Blood Rush, or if you really want to, Berserker Fury. Really just depends what you want there. Regular Organ Shatter, not Amalgam, because we're getting that extra 5% more critical damage. We do not have to worry about heavy attack swing speed since we have Truth's Flame, and that Tennokai is going to be carrying us for all of our heavy attack swing speed. Killing Blow is mainly for the melee damage on heavy attack and not for the heavy attack wind-up speed. And we have melee exposure since we're going to be casting abilities quite often. We're going to be getting some extra corrosive on our melee strikes, giving us some extra damage that we can add on to the total. Now, because I do not have the Sanctuary unlocked, and by Sanctuary I mean the place tied to Cephalon Samaris, it's the Simulacrum, I'm pretty sure is the name of it. I'm just going to show you in a regular mission how this build works. Basically, you're going to be hitting enemies with your regular attack until you can pull off the Tennokai. You're going to want to make sure that as long as you have energy, you can keep refreshing your 1 as many times as possible. Make sure you do not run out of that. That is like your biggest damage source right there. Your 3 is for that extra damage boost, just because it's really nice to have, and also because you're going to be charging up your 4 with that. 2 is mainly for whenever you lose your shields. If you lose your shields, immediately pop your 2. Do not wait even a second. The moment you have the chance to, before your shield gauge runs out, you're going to want to pop your 2, because this build has no survivability attached to it. You are going to want that, or else you will probably die the moment that your shield gating is over. It is effectively guaranteed. It also helps you to clear any negative debuffs, so if you have a debuff like Toxin, or something that's going to be trickling down your shield, don't feel afraid to use it. You have infinite energy anyway, you don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is you just gotta keep hitting enemies and killing them. Even if you end up missing, the downside of Truth's Flame is completely negatable just by pressing 1 button on your keyboard or on your controller, depends on which one you're using. And whenever you're ready to do some massive damage, if you want to go away from doing just straight melee, obviously, of course, you can pop your ultimate and just watch the damage numbers roll in like that. Overextended really helps us get all that range in, plus the fact we have a bunch of ability strength, so not much is really going to be able to stand up against the raw damage that we're putting out with our 4. Not to mention the raw damage we're going to be putting out with just the sword alone, by the way. We're doing some heavy damage with this thing. You gotta make sure to keep your abilities refreshed, because you don't want to find yourself running out of it. It's very, very nice to have all your stuff up, especially since you're getting most of your damage from the critical hits that you're getting with Wrathful Advance. You're never going to want to let your Wrathful Advance drop unless you are not actively attacking, in which then you just might as well, I don't know, just like leave it there. It's also good for a mobility tool, as whenever you want to go somewhere, you can use Wrathful Advance just to teleport. Since you already have infinite energy, it's not like it really is going to change much. You're really just getting there faster. It's not as fun as Uriel's 1 normally is, but we're choosing quality over mobility here, to be honest. As you can see, even without purple Archon shards, I'm also doing quite a lot of damage. I am hitting pretty damn hard, which is very nice, as I don't have a single purple Tau Forge in my build at the moment, even though I really want one. So as you can see, this build does some hella damage. Plus, Uriel already has survivability baked into his kit, so you don't have to worry about getting any survivability options on him. Especially not adaptation. Adaptation is probably like one of the worst mods that I see people actually genuinely use. Here's a little PSA for you people who use adaptation. I hope you know adaptation kind of sucks, because all it will do is adapt to the current kind of damage that you're taking, and if there's any underlying damage the enemy is dealing, it will not adapt to that either. Adaptation is not that good of a survivability mod. I have used it personally myself. Honestly, I think it's better just to use shield gating or some other method. Hopefully try and find a way to see if your character has a baked-in survivability method, but adaptation is not the way to go. Which is why we don't have it on this build, and also because adaptation would be useless, since it's not like we need that damage reduction anyway, since we're already dealing all the damage in the world to kill everything, and anytime anything even barely threatens us, we press one button on our keyboard, and next thing you know, it's no longer a problem. No longer have to worry about it. As you can see, this thing absolutely shreds through enemies, even on Steel Path. Just absolutely reduces them to atoms. Especially when you get your ability strength up, it's very hard to find enemies that just can actually survive a hit from this when you're going all out. I think the few times I've seen enemies do it is like maybe just a really high health enemy, or like Eximus. I know the Necromechs can definitely survive it, because those Necromechs from Sanctum Anatomica are very, very tanky. If you ever encounter something that's flying in the air, I would highly suggest bringing along some kind of ranged weapon, something that preferably does some high single target damage, just so you can get rid of them pretty easily. If you encounter Acolyte, it's pretty easy to get rid of them, unless you want to, unless you end up encountering one of the ones that have the ability nullifier around them, in which case you should probably get away from them, maybe use your ranged option, or you can try and pick them off from a distance, or keep going in, retreating, healing yourself, going back in again. Whatever works, really. Just make sure it works, make sure you get it done. You'll find a way. Warframe's about thinking on the spot. This is already power fantasy. I mean, you're pretty much going to be cleaving through effectively everything. You just got to make sure to really stay on top of that shield. Because while your shield is not going to go down every 2 seconds, you're definitely going to watch out, because anytime your shield does go down, you'll want to make sure you're ready to retaliate. Since if your shield goes down and your shield gate goes off, you're basically screwed. Seeing that Uriel has infinite energy, it actually makes it really easy to just keep spamming his healing ability to make sure that he doesn't die, making him effectively immortal. I mean, he might as well be Hikari. He might as well just be a constant Hikari, because anytime you get anywhere close to killing him, he's just going to heal up. The only times that you should really be scared for your life is if you encounter enemies that have a guaranteed toxin, especially since this is a quite up-in-your-face melee build. Enemies that can apply a guaranteed toxin on you are pretty fucking terrifying, which is why I would recommend using the Umbral mod for health, or just some kind of health mod in general, something to give you a little bit more beefiness against that, so that you can have a little bit of reaction time, because some of these higher levels can definitely apply toxin that just like one-shots you, and it does not feel good. Well, you could definitely use Discipline's Merit to get this more consistently, and just ignore the bonus damage that you get from it, as well as some of the other little goodies that you get from Sweet's Flame. It is completely possible for you to instead use Discipline's Merit, as it is better for consistently getting off the heavy attacks for this build. If you really want to just do straight heavy attacks, which I find kind of boring. I like the little skill-based gameplay of getting rewarded for killing an enemy, especially since you get that extra 120% damage boost for your melee attacks when you are using Truth's Flame, as that is definitely very good for helping you push even more damage out of an already really good damaging weapon. Anyway, that's all for the build, and I hope to see you guys on my channel later. I stream every few days, sometimes at random. Normally it's sometime in the noon, so hopefully you guys can catch me, and I'll see you later.